Good evening. Welcome to Wednesday teaching. I'm going through a series that I call Experiencing the Buddha's Teaching, where I share certain topics, present certain topics, and I hope to connect those Buddhist topics to our personal experiences and also to offer up my thoughts about how we can integrate the information and the teaching into our own experience. Yes, good evening, Craig. And during this session, you're most welcome to post your comments or questions or feedback in the chat, and I will attend to them. I'm at a module called The Way of Bodhisattvas, or The Way of the Bodhisattva. I can't remember how I put it. And this is the last session of this module. And over the past few sessions, I've been introducing and sort of discussing, and we've been looking at a set of spiritual practice that we call the 6 paramitas. Paramita is Sanskrit, usually translated as 6 perfection, but I don't like the word perfection. I prefer so I revert back to the Sanskrit, the 6 paramitas, which include generosity, ethical discipline, patience, joyous effort, concentration, and wisdom. And the word paramita I've been explaining have this connotation of a practice or a quality that, as we develop and as we engage in, has the function of taking us, help us to go beyond our current limitation, go beyond from our current state of suffering, unhappy states, where we are very much entangled with the causes and conditions of suffering, which in a way flare up now and then and put us in a situation where we really suffer, a state of conflict, a state of lack of harmony and peace. And so the paramitas are practice that enable us to transcend these states, to arrive at, in Buddhism, we often have this metaphor of the other shore. We cross treacherous oceans or river or whatever and arrive at the other shore, which is perceived as a state of great peace and liberation, suffering, a state of genuine happiness. Yeah. Of course, I always like to stress that when we do embark on this journey and arrive at our destination, or even partway through it, we realize that this shore of conflict and the other shore of peace are all happening here and now within ourselves. So it's not literally a different place that we need to get to. So we have looked at, first of all, the foundations of the practice of 6 paramitas, which I emphasize is really the twofold qualities of compassion and wisdom. So whatever we do, it would be good in relation to the 6 paramitas to always remind ourselves and always to come back to the first principles, which is to see the 6 paramitas as the expression of compassion and wisdom. Compassion and wisdom in action, so to speak. So when in doubt, when we are not sure, we come back to the first principle. We come back and look at the compassion and wisdom and apply them in the different contexts. So that's true in the practice of generosity, true in the practice of trying to live an ethical life, following our own ethical principles, true in the practice of patience. And today I'm going to touch on joyous effort and relate that to compassion and wisdom, and talk about what is joyous effort in the Buddhist context, what does it entail, and how can we create the conditions for us to increase, to experience and increase joyous effort. The last 2 parameters, which is concentration and wisdom, I will cover it in the next module, called calm abiding and special insights. And that is usually how, in the teachings, especially in the written teachings in Tibetan Buddhism, what we call the Lamrim, the text on this genre, the stages of the path to enlightenment, usually they reserve the last 2 parameters as a separate section where they go into much greater details about these 2. Yeah. So I'm following that kind of arrangement. So today we will look at the 4th parameters, the parameters of joyous efforts. As the name implied, there are different translations for this term. Sometimes people call it enthusiasm. Sometimes people call it energy, which I quite like, although the word energy is probably a bit overused. So aside from that, sometimes people translate as perseverance. I quite like this simple translation of joyous effort. So the word itself has the connotation effort, energy, putting forth effort and energy into something, into doing things and engaging in various activities. But I like to add the word, as some translators done, the adjective of joyous, because effort sometimes for different people have different connotations. And some people's notion of effort is this idea of no pain, no gain. So effort then is necessarily associated with pain. And so we have different associations. Sometimes it's good to be upfront and try to help people to see that maybe the effort we talk about in this context is not the effort that we might be used to. It has a different connotation. So it's joyous effort. The definition of joyous effort, or the parameters of joyous effort, is to delight in virtues. Virtues here, of course, refer to wholesome, virtuous actions. The Buddhist connotation of actions is like 3 categories. So actions could be, of course, the obvious, the physical behavior, what we do with the body or don't do. Doing and not doing are also considered actions. Doing is to actively carry out a certain activity, and likewise, to conscientiously refrain or restrain ourselves from doing something, to not do something in a very deliberate, conscious way. It's also a kind of action. So there is actions of body, actions of speech, which could be verbalizing, but also other forms of communication. And there's also action of mind. So joyous effort is to delight in virtuous actions, virtuous action through physical activity, physical action, through our behavior, through our speech, and also through our mind. Mental action, in a simple way, we can think of it as our thinking, our thoughts, the kind of thoughts that we nurture and that we repeatedly engage in and give attention to, is also a kind of actions. And they are, of course, the virtuous actions of the mind, dwelling on virtuous thoughts, thinking that is motivated and guided by wholesome qualities, as opposed to thinking that is fueled by unwholesome or non-virtuous qualities, such as, let's say, hatred. So to dwell on hatred, hateful thoughts, thoughts of causing harm, thoughts of inflicting pain, would be considered non-virtuous action. And that would not be, no matter how hard we put, how much energy we put in it, would not qualify as joyous effort. So there are 2 things. To put energy into, must be virtuous action. Virtues, there's the effort part, and it is accompanied with a sense of delight. So we actually enjoy it. It's something delightful to us, something joyous to us. And there is a lightness to this way of engaging in effort, as opposed to some of us might be more used to a very heavy, burdensome kind of guilt-ridden, driven by fear, driven by shame, driven by guilt. That kind of effort is not what we are talking about here. So we are trying to come to a place where we delight in virtue. We have this energy that allows us that we channel into virtuous activities, virtuous actions of body, of speech, and mind. Yeah. Okay, so that is just a very simple definition. In the Buddha's discourses, he does unpack it a little bit. And the most common way the Buddha described joyous effort is in terms of two pairs. Two pairs. One pair is what to do in relation to virtuous quality, virtuous actions, and then what to do in relation to non-virtuous or unwholesome qualities or actions, right? So joyous effort is in relation to wholesome qualities, wholesome activities. those that has not make an appearance, have not manifest. We all have those qualities within us, but they may not manifest due to various conditions. And then we encourage those that have not manifest, not make an appearance, that we have not been expressing them or experiencing them. Encourage them to come forth into our experience, come forth in our expression. So take compassion. So left to on my own device, maybe I don't necessarily feel very compassionate or respond with compassion because I'm in a fortunate state at the moment. I'm not suffering pain or I'm not confronted with a painful situation. So there is no manifestation of compassion. But in a situation where compassion is called for, and yet I don't feel compassion or I didn't respond with compassion, then in that situation, joyous effort is to see what can I do to encourage myself, to maybe open the heart, to be able to get in touch and to call forth one's own natural compassion. So that is the first aspect of effort. The wholesome qualities that have not manifest, we encourage it to come forth, to manifest. And along with this, wholesome qualities that have already been expressed or manifest, or I can feel them, I'm aware of them, how can I strengthen them? How can I reinforce them? How can I help them to grow, to be more prominent, to come forth more naturally and more spontaneously in the appropriate manner? So that is the growing part. One is to make an appearance, then the other one is to grow it. Yeah. So that is the second aspect of joyous effort. Wholesome qualities that are already manifest or have risen, how can I strengthen it? How can I reinforce it? How can I increase it? Right? So you can make a guess for the other pair in relation to unwholesome, non-virtuous qualities, which incidentally in Buddhism refer to qualities or states of mind that have a distorting element in it. Distortion in the sense that they are rooted in some kind of mistaken understanding, mistaken or wrong perception, or wrong understanding of reality. So they are distorted. They don't see reality clearly or correctly, and they are not responding to reality. Instead, they are kind of reacting from a point of view of misperception, mistaken information. Right? So that is the defining characteristics of non-virtuous or unwholesome qualities according to Buddhism. They are all distorted quality. They are rooted in, of course, we say they are rooted in ignorance. Ignorance not in the sense of not just not knowing the truth, but knowing, holding on to some kind of, well, this day we use the word fake news, holding on to something that is wrong or mistaken. Yeah. And because it's mistaken right from the beginning or right at the very base of it, so everything that comes afterwards is all distorted and all sort of mistaken or wrong. Right? So then we can make a guess, right? So similar, parallel to wholesome qualities, then unwholesome qualities that hasn't made an appearance, hasn't manifest, wonderful. Let's try to keep it that way. We try to not allow the conditions that would trigger them to come together, so that they are not triggered, they don't make an appearance, and they are unable to impact us or influence us in any way. So those that are not making an appearance, don't show up. Stop them from coming forth. And those that already are manifest, I'm already upset. I realize that, I think I'm angry. I'm reacting to the situation, or I'm dwelling on hateful thoughts, very inappropriate, harmful, totally unhelpful, and not conducive to happiness. Instead, it's only going to increase my suffering. So when I notice those that are already arisen, how can I not feed it, not increase it? How can I do the opposite? How can I diminish its impact, its influence? How can I weaken its strength? Weaken its strength can be in different ways. How can I, so that it doesn't flare up so strongly, the amplitude is less, or the frequency is less frequent. It doesn't come forth so frequently. It doesn't come forth so strongly. It doesn't hang around for so long. The duration is shortened. So in any possible way to weaken it, to diminish it, to to diminish its impact and influence on our mind and therefore on our actions, on our choices. Yeah. So it's a complicated way to talk about it. It's really interesting. But over the years, I really appreciate this way of understanding joyous effort. It's a very unusual way of defining effort, actually. A lot of time, our most kind of more conventional, common way of thinking of effort, of course, is we don't make that distinction between wholesome or unwholesome. No. We sort of have a more generic idea of just pumping energy and time and resources in, and there's effort. I mean, I'm not saying that's wrong, but I'm trying to contrast that more common, conventional way of understanding effort to what this unusual way in which the Buddha defined effort. It's almost like you don't judge how much, you have a different set of criteria to judge what do you mean by you put a lot of effort into something. And the criteria is completely different from how we normally would apply. Normally we say we have to spend a lot of time. Time is a measure. Somehow you have to feel, put a lot of energy to the extent that you feel tired. The more tired you are, it's sort of an indication that you put a lot of energy into it. The more kind of busy you are, that is also a sign of effort. I don't know why, but that is... when I was working in a conventional job, sometimes I joke that I just look busy. Because if I don't look busy, people say that you're lazy, you're not putting in effort. So especially when I was serving national service in the army in Singapore, I go to great length to look busy, so that I can say, look, I'm very busy, right? I must be putting in a lot of effort in my job, isn't it? So that is also a very common criteria. And sort of time, energy, effort, busyness, these are all very common way we kind of gauge how much effort we put in. The other one is, of course, funny enough, how pain, like sometimes in certain contexts, not all contexts, the more pain you experience is kind of correlate with the more effort you put in. No pain, no gain. Yeah. I clearly don't agree with it, especially the way the Buddha put it. Yeah. So contrasting this, there's a completely different set of criteria. It has nothing to do with how much time you spend on it, how busy you look, how tired you are at the end of it, how packed you pack your schedule. You can say, look, I'm so busy, I'm putting in so much effort, I don't even have time to go to the toilet. So it's a very conventional way of measuring effort. And clearly that is not the criteria we're talking about here in joyous effort. Delight in virtue is the energy, the way we use energy is so different. I like this metaphor of feeding. Am I feeding, nurturing, nourishing the wholesome qualities, and also allowing them to express itself in actions, choices? Or am I nurturing, feeding unwholesome qualities? If more energy goes into reinforcing, growing, nourishing wholesome qualities, then I'm putting in a lot of effort. There is delight in virtue, and it has a lightness to it. Later we'll talk about this joyous aspect of it. Whereas if all my energy goes into feeding, reinforcing, enhancing, strengthening unwholesome qualities, even if I would, that would be considered wrong effort. Right? So it doesn't matter how busy I am. I could be doing nothing at all, just lying around, but I could be delighting in virtue. I used to joke about it that when I was staying at the center, my room is just above the entrance. And on Sunday, when people come early for practice, they ring the doorbell, and I was still in bed. But I'm not working that day. Then I will rejoice. I didn't actually go down and answer the door because there'll be other people. I will rejoice in all these wonderful people coming so early to do virtuous practice. while still lying in bed. Yeah. And that is, I have applied great effort because rejoicing is a wonderful way of cultivating and strengthening virtue. If I'm sincere, genuinely feeling happy when I'm aware or I see others engage in wholesome quality or wholesome actions, positive actions. Yeah. So you can be exerting great effort even when you are still in bed in this way, through practicing rejoicing. In fact, rejoicing is said to be a lazy person way of creating a lot of positive potential, positive momentum or merit, because just by not really doing much, isn't it? But it is the way you turn your attention, the way you regard and see and respond to what you see, respond to how others behave. And yet, in the same way, it is joyous effort because we are nurturing something virtuous within ourselves. Right? There's a very long introduction to joyous effort, but I hope it's clear where I'm coming from. And I like to. And the reason why I sort of belabor on this is, I think fundamentally we need to kind of reorientate ourselves the way we understand the word effort, joyous effort. To put a lot of effort, a lot of joyous effort, is to really put the energy to nurture and nourish the wholesome qualities, the virtuous qualities within ourselves, and be it in the form of thoughts, the kind of thoughts we dwell on, we repeatedly come back to, or the kind of speech we engage in, or the kind of activities we participate in. All these are considered joyous efforts. And likewise, just because we work very, very hard, we kept ourselves very busy. But if those activities, those busyness, those work until we're so tired, unfortunately nurture unwholesome qualities. Sometimes people, especially in a not-for-profit, kind of helping professions, even in a religious setting, which is out of goodness of heart, really wonderful, good intention, really as they make great sacrifice also. Sometimes not only time, energy, money, resources, and sometimes also their personal relationship with other people, with families and friends and loved ones. They make sacrifice in all those areas. And yet, unfortunately, that those busyness, so much effort, so much time, so much energy spent, and yet at the same time, unfortunately, sometimes it actually nurture other states of mind. Usually, that is because not enough rest, not giving oneself a chance to rest, and so unintentionally it nurtured qualities such as resentment, qualities. Because when we are tired, we are more irritable, so we do unwillingly, unintentionally nurture anger, resentment, and sometimes a lot of other feelings, like could be guilt, and so on and so forth. And then, so unfortunately, even though we do make great sacrifice, we are not actually practicing joyous effort. First of all, there's not much joy involved. And secondly, the energy unintentionally has gone into feeding the unwholesome qualities that we carry with us. All of us have a certain degree of non-virtuous unwholesome qualities, unless we are perfect or completely enlightened. And so unintentionally, we have feed and enhance, increase those unhelpful qualities. Yeah. So therefore, it takes great skill to apply joyous effort and to really understand ourselves, to relate to ourselves at where we are, and also to be in touch with our actual feelings and our actual states. So I'll touch more on this later. So there are three types of joyous efforts. I won't go into much details. These are the technicality. We categorize joyous effort as. First is called armor-like effort, which is a kind of point to the the perseverance aspect of efforts. It's like we put on an armor, and we can sort of go into facing challenges. But the effort, our joyous effort, is like an armor. It protects us and it keeps us going. So it has this connotation of not giving up easily, not losing hope, and able to persevere and in the right cause, towards one's aspired goal. So there's this notion of armor-like effort. That's the first category. Second one is effort in gathering virtue. This point to this is precisely what is the definition. Putting energy into creating, gathering, nurturing virtuous actions into virtues. Third one is effort in benefiting or working for the welfare of sentient beings. So, and that is of course, the external expression of compassion and wisdom, and then fueled by joyous effort to work for the welfare and to bring benefit, not just to oneself, but also to others. Right? So this is the classic three categories of joyous efforts: armor-like effort, effort in gathering virtue, effort in working for the welfare of sentient beings. Right? What I would like to actually put more attention on are how do we get in touch with joyous effort? How can we grow our own joyous effort? And traditionally, it's presented in terms of abandoning the unfavorable conditions and gathering the favorable conditions. So to think in terms of conditions, which is expression of wisdom in the Buddhist context, the wisdom of conditionality, wisdom of dependent origination. So our ability to express joyous effort, ability to get in touch with joyous effort depends on conditions. So if we are able to gather the favorable conditions and we are able to abandon the unfavorable one, then naturally these parameters of joyous effort will grow, will come forth spontaneously, in a very natural, uncontrived way. Conversely, if we neglect the favorable conditions and instead we indulge in the unfavorable conditions, then we are going in the opposite directions, and we are not going to be able to get in touch or express or grow the quality of joyous effort. Right? So that is what I would like to cover today. I'm not sure how far I get, but let's start. Just very briefly touch on unfavorable conditions. The first one, I have to confess, I often indulge in is the laziness of procrastination. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. Do it tomorrow. And that is, of course, you can understand why it's the opposite of joyous effort. It is a postponing or the investment of energy in certain things, especially something worthwhile and virtuous, and just tomorrow. Then you forget about it. So that is the first unfavorable condition, the laziness of procrastination. I do not proclaim to know how to have the perfect solution to procrastination, as I myself struggle with it on and off here and there. Yeah. But let me just finish the list. The second unfavorable condition is engaging in many frivolous activities, or sometimes called attachment to senseless activities. That is, this one you should, I think, take it with a pinch of salt, not be too harsh on ourselves. It's like keeping ourselves very busy, pottering around, doing this, doing that, and at the end of the day, you realize, not much virtue has been done. I'm very busy, but not much virtues have been done. I haven't nurtured much of the virtuous and wholesome qualities or actions, so to speak. For example, I could be, I go through different phases, binge watching YouTube videos, I'm very busy, busy, in a certain sense. But there's not necessarily much virtue being nurtured, even though I could spend hours and hours watching videos. So that is attachment to what in Buddhism we call senseless activities. Yeah. Activities that doesn't necessarily nurture my virtue, but more likely they're not nurtured laziness, or other kind of afflicted states of mind, attachment, hatred, and so on. Like for example, during US election results, I try my best not to fall into it, but I still spent quite a few hours tracking the US election results, which I don't understand why I bothered to do it. Yeah, but that is considered senseless activities, I think, from a certain point of view. Although many of us probably do it. Yeah, I was amazed at the ability to transform an election into almost like entertainment. So exciting and cliffhangers and stuff like that. Yeah. And almost a very dramatic, so to speak. And that's considered senseless activity because it has a tendency to feed the not so wholesome aspects of ourselves. Or it stirs things up for us unnecessarily. It stirs up anxiety, which what's so good about that anxiety? Is it going to lead to something wholesome? Maybe not. It's only going to create more suffering for ourselves and others. So the second unfavorable conditions to joyous effort is to spend our energy and time being engaged in not so meaningful activities, so to speak. Yeah. The third unfavorable conditions is discouragement, kind of discouragement in different sense, in different ways, feeling that I'm incapable of achieving that goal or that aspiration and therefore back away from it, or not able to put my energy into it because I don't believe in oneself. I'm discouraged. Or sometimes it could be I hold a certain belief or idea that is preventing me from exerting effort or putting my energy in that direction. Discouragement is another unfavorable condition. In fact, can be more so than procrastination and wasting time in senseless activities. Discouragement can literally put an end, almost like absolutely prevent us from progressing on the spiritual path. If we deep down, we hold on to a kind of mistaken image of ourselves or what we are capable of achieving or accomplishing. And if we believe in that wrong image or wrong idea, then of course it's not possible for us. We don't believe it, don't believe that we can do it, and therefore we wouldn't even try, we wouldn't put any effort or energy into it. And this becomes a very serious obstacles on the spiritual path. One reason why when I present meditation, like calm abiding meditation, there is a traditional way of presenting it, and I often don't follow that. Traditionally, you present what we call the 9 stages. There's actually a diagram. They made into some kind of schematic diagram of a path with this elephant and a monkey and a rabbit or something like that. Yeah, and so different stages on the way to achieving a state of meditative absorption or calm abiding. And so 9 stages before we achieve the result. And these days, I almost never talk about it when I introduce or I present, guide people in calm abiding meditation. I absolutely do not mention the stages we go through because of my experience, not just personal, but also from others and from friends. I have a friend who actually told me at one point that he put in much more effort in meditation than I. I'm pretty lazy and I procrastinate. And he told me that he felt that in this life he could be able to get to stage 3 out of the 9 and maybe 4, but he thinks that stage 5 is impossible for him. In my mind, I thought this presentation, not intentionally of course, it's the way he interprets, has done him a great disservice. Instead of helping him to accomplish calm abiding, this presentation, in the way he interpreted it, becomes a major obstacle. He's discouraged. He holds on to this idea that, the best I can do, the best I can do after putting in so much more effort than me. I can assure that he put in much more effort in meditation than I have ever done so far. And he said that he can only stop at the 5th stage. I thought, I think I feel like I take this whole so-called teaching of the 9 stages and I chuck it into the garbage bin, because I think he hasn't. I mean, not in the literal way, but in his case, has done him a great disservice. Instead of encouraging him and help him to keep alive that aspiration, and help him to navigate the journey to arrive at the attainment of calm abiding, it has put a glass ceiling, and say, "Oh, this is what this is all that you can accomplish in this life." And I don't think that is true. In fact, I think in that case, this teaching is useless for him. In that way of interpreting it, it's much better not to have received that teaching and not to follow it in this way of interpreting, because it has become a disempowering experience for him. It has discouraged him. He felt disempowered, and he's convinced. I hope he has changed his mind by now, but convinced that that is all he can accomplish. And I'm clearly disagreement with it. But it's very hard to change another person's mind if they have already made up their mind about this. And all I can do is to try to suggest that, look, there's another way of looking at this whole picture. Maybe it is not impossible. We can kind of, I mean, at that time I didn't pull out my slogan that the secret of happiness is to always start from a lower standard. And then if you know, maybe you can accomplish something. Maybe, okay, all right, let's not go think too far. Let's start with something much lower. And once we accomplish that, we can raise the bar, accomplish that. And before we know it, we may have traversed all the 9 stages of calm abiding and arrive in the state of deep meditative absorption. But the 9 points thingy provide direction. Yes. So that's why how you interpret a teaching makes a big difference. For one person, it provides direction. For another person, it put a cap, like a glass ceiling. So how we relate to the teaching become very important. Now, the reason why I say that it belongs to the garbage bin figuratively is because I don't think it's an isolated incident. It's because of the way we listen, right? And we understand the teaching and we imagine it in our mind, that it becomes unintentionally, of course, that's not the intention of the teaching itself, the presentation itself, but unintentionally, it feeds into certain patterns of reaction within ourselves. Would you say discouragement is just a lack of confidence? Yeah, of course, no. If I agree, not just though. Embedded within discouragement, of course, is a lack of confidence. Yeah, but it's not just a lack of confidence. There are other things happening when we talk about discouragement, when we experience discouragement. But one aspect of it, of course, is a lack of confidence in one's own ability to accomplish the task, accomplish that goal. Yeah. Right. So these are the 3 unfavorable conditions: procrastination, wasting time and energy in meaningless or senseless activities, keeping ourselves busy but not in relation to virtue, and lastly, discouragement, holding on to quite often mistaken ideas, and therefore disempowering or discouraging oneself, and thereby preventing oneself from channeling the energy and effort into cultivating virtue. Right? And I think the best way to work with this, at least in this presentation, is to look at the 4 favorable conditions, and they can help us. Maybe some of them can serve as an antidote. Maybe not. Let's just first look at it. The 4 favorable conditions we advise to gather in order to touch and grow our joyous effort. First is aspiration, which is a very powerful condition. When you have an aspirations, it stirs up, it moves us, it pull out resources and energy we don't know we have, because we aspire and we actively work towards it. So it's a way of bringing forth that energy. So aspiration is the favorable condition. Second one is steadfastness. Steadfastness is related to perseverance, to keep at it. To even we encounter failure and obstacles, no problem. We stand up again, and we just keep at it. So there is a kind of steadfastness, which is also an important conditions for us to express joyous effort, because the journey is long. It's also winding here and there, and we just have to keep at it, bit by bit, step by step, in the way we can. So steadfastness is another important conditions. Sometimes steadfastness, I think, not only is a condition for joyous effort, it's probably also a quality of joyous effort itself. Yeah. The third condition is joy, which is interesting. So joy, experiencing joy, expressing joy is also a favorable condition for us to have joyous effort. So this is literally saying, to have joyous effort, we need to allow ourselves to experience joy, to experience delight, to experience that feeling or that sensations of joy and delight, and make that a part of our joyous effort. Yeah. The fifth one is very important, is rest. Rest, putting aside to relinquish certain tasks or activity for the time being, so that we can replenish our energy, we can have a good rest. It's also very important for joyous efforts. And if we put them together, the four favorable conditions, then this will really help our joyous effort to grow. Okay. So let's talk about aspirations. Aspiration is to have a kind of a goal. It's related to goal setting, but I tend to not equate it, because I think aspiration, goal setting can, usually it should be very specific, right? To specify the precise goal to the work towards, which is one way we use this idea of goals, goal setting. But I think aspiration doesn't have to be that precise. Sometimes aspiration can be expressed or can be experienced as a kind of direction. So it helps to orientate us, orientate our attention, orientate our energy. We know this is where we want to go. This is the direction. We don't know how you're going to pan out. We don't know what is the precise details of it, but that is not a problem as far as aspiration is concerned. Aspiration is just this almost a channeling of energy and attention in a certain direction, and the end result that we aspire to can be very clear or can be very vague. It's either way is possible, because sometimes we are not actually in a position where we can very precisely envision that goal or that result. We are still searching, but nonetheless we know this is the direction that we want to go. So it can be vague, but that's all right, so long as it helps to set the direction. So this is aspiration. And aspiration really, when we cherish it and we bring forth aspirations, it can motivate, activates energy, joyous effort. So that is the first favorable conditions. And we're going to do a meditation on this one after finish this. The second is steadfastness, which is you can call it perseverance. Yeah, but I didn't use the word perseverance, because perseverance is another translation term that is often used to translate joyous effort. So the text I'm referring to used the word steadfastness, which does, so either words will work. There's this quality of keep coming back to it. Just keep at it, keep at it, keep at it. Of course, this is speaking in very generic terms. Sometimes sometimes could be confused with stubbornness. So we need to be a bit flexible in the way we interpret these terms. Are we being stubborn and refuse to accept defeat, even though whatever it is we're working is impossible? Or am I being perseverance? I persevere, I'm being steadfast, I'm just keep working at it and not back down in the face of obstacles. So which one is it? We have to decide for ourselves. It all depends on whether the goal or the end result is a reasonable one, is attainable, a possible one, or impossible one. Yeah. So that one I can't say for sure. And the two of them, you You can call this person stubborn, or you can call this person great perseverance. It really depends on your point of view. But it is nonetheless an important quality and condition for joyous effort to have the ability to come back to it. I sometimes express this in meditation as the ability to just come back and start again. So previously, I don't talk about it much now. In the past, when I talk about developing calm abiding, working with support and object meditation such as the breath, and I try to present this idea that it is not so much how long we stay with the breath that is necessarily the most important thing, especially at the beginning of the practice of meditation. What is probably more important is this ability to recognize that, oh, I'm distracted, not a problem. Let me just come back to the breath and start again. So this is also a form of steadfastness in meditation, which is to not give up easily, and also to not let ourselves be too discouraged or too frustrated if we do find that we are distracted from our object of meditation. Instead, to see it as an opportunity of practice. And instead of getting upset or labeling our meditation as bad, just to say, oh, another opportunity to just invite my attention to come back to the breath, come back to my object of meditation, and have another go for it again. And the more we are able to do this with grace, with a lightness, instead of feeling very heavy, upset, and frustrated and disappointed, say, oh, it's okay. I just come back to my object of meditation and start again. And in fact, to even change your attitude and think that, oh, if within one session of meditation, I get to do this 10,000 times, that would be excellent. I would have put so much effort into my meditation. Instead of seeing as I'm distracted 10,000 times, I see that I have 10,000 opportunities to practice. So to see this coming back to the object of meditation after I'm distracted, coming back, reconnect with the object of meditation, and go from there as the nature of practice itself. And by seeing in this positive light, it really makes a difference. I find that I'm not upset. Okay, I'm distracted, then I come back. No problem. If I'm not distracted, I wouldn't have a chance to practice coming back. Right? And coming back is the practice of meditation. It's precisely because I'm distracted. That's why I need to practice coming back. And the more opportunity I have in practicing coming back, the more opportunity I have to express joyous effort, especially if I can do it with delight, with a sense of grace and gentleness, and not be upset or frustrated and discouraged. Just come back and do it, come back to do it. And I used to encourage myself. I would say, if I don't give up, one day my distracting mind will give up. I say, all right, fine, I'll keep quiet. Since you insist that you want to stay with the breath, all right, I will not object. And then suddenly you will have this experience in your meditation. Something that you think would never happen to you actually happened. That your attention is still with your object of meditation. My attention is still staying with the breath. I check, it's with the breath. A few minutes later, you check again, really pay attention, still with the breath. A few minutes, still here with the breath, still here with the breath, still with the breath. Oh, your distracting mind has given up. And what happened? You have moved forward and you've gone deeper into your meditation. There is a continuous engagement of attention with your object of meditation. And all it comes from is this almost mindless but very this lightness of just come back to the object of meditation and start again. Right? So that is steadfastness. The third one is joy, which is an attitude of lightness, of delight, and to associate that with effort, with the use of energy. That the way we use our energy, we express our energy and effort, it doesn't have to be heavy, hard, associated with pain and struggle and tension. tension. I actually call it, I purposely gave it a derogatory label. I call that constipated practice, which is to associate effort with this sound, like you are constipated, right? You're trying to squeeze something out of yourself. And so you tense up all your muscles, you push, you struggle, you refuse to take a step back and look at the situation. Instead, you just keep pushing, constipated practice. Trying, by calling it that way, I try to discourage people from associating this kind of this way of practicing with joyous effort. It's not like this. I mean, of course, there are occasions when we are constipated, maybe we really need to do that. But in general, effort in the context of Buddhist practice is not like that. Instead, it's to find the delight, find the delights, find the source of joy, and allow that joy and delight to be, to awaken the energy and to help us to channel the energy towards virtue. So in the context of meditation is to find the delight, the enjoyment in our meditation, the one that keep us excited and sort of uplift us and feel, oh, something nice is happening. What is it? Keep us engaged and allow us to be very willingly, without any effort, without any struggle, without shaming ourselves or beating ourselves up, that we willingly come back to the meditation again and again, and to invest our energy, to explore, to continue this journey. So that's why I suggest people in meditation now and then to highlight to yourself the positive aspects of your meditation. Highlight to yourself and, in fact, welcome into your awareness while you're meditating any pleasant feelings, any nice experiences or interesting experiences that come out of your meditation, that is a part of your meditation. Not to let them go to waste, not to ignore them. If you feel very comfortable, you feel there's this amazing sense of stillness and peace, welcome that into your awareness and allow yourself to enjoy it and to associate those wonderful feelings with your practice. And when that happens, then you naturally, instead of thinking that practice is good for me, you think practice is enjoyable. I really look forward to, in this case, a meditation, so to speak. So that is a condition of joy. I also sometimes suggest people to look out for what we call rapture when meditating. Rapture is a very energetic kind of sensations and experience. It's a very difficult one to describe, like some kind of buzzing and sensations. There are different types of rapture. I don't actually call it pleasant, but it can be quite exciting because it's sort of weird. But when you make an appearance in one's meditation, I encourage people to not ignore it, but instead welcome it. Don't fixate on it, but welcome it, be aware of it, and just allow yourself to enjoy it while it's here. At first, they don't hang around for long. They may fade and disappear. But while they're here, just associate with your meditation and allow yourself to say, oh, something is happening, something weird and interesting is happening in my meditation. Let me just be aware of it, just notice it. Don't necessarily do anything to it. Just let it be here. So if I sense my fingers, all this strange buzzing sensation starts, and sometimes they spread up the hands and arms, I welcome it, and let it come fully into my awareness, and just allow myself to be aware of it. I'm not doing anything to it. I'm just curious and say, oh, I wonder what's happening. I wonder, will it continue? Will it stop? So will it spread? Will it stay put? No. Oh, what else can I notice about it or in relation to it? So just by giving it energy of attention, feeding this rapture and allow it to grow. And rapture transform my association with meditation is something viewed as something interesting, exciting, uplifting. And so that is how, there's one way we can bring this notion of joy into our practice, and joy becomes a condition that allows us to mobilize more energy, more effort, and Therefore, we will have joyous effort. Right? And the last condition is rest, is to allow ourselves to take breaks, to have short or extended rest, to allow ourselves to go on a holiday sometimes. No, don't always have to work so hard. And it varies from one person to another. It varies from one phase of practice to another. But rest in various forms are important to the practice of joyous effort, because we do get tired, we do get exhausted, we need to replenish, we need to regenerate the energy. So rest is just as important a condition as steadfastness or keeping at it. Is to skillfully and wisely walk away, take a break, have a break in different forms. Okay. All right. So the 4 favorable conditions, therefore, are aspiration, steadfastness, joy, and rest. Okay, aspiration, steadfastness, joy, and rest. Let's take a look at aspiration and also joy in this meditation, which I call appreciating our precious human life. Yeah, and it's a very nice meditation. It's one in which I invite you to cast your mind back, take a trip down memory lane, and pull into your awareness different aspects of our life, the wonderful aspects of our life, where we acknowledge and we give ourselves a chance to appreciate the kind of opportunities that we have enjoyed, opportunities that we have enjoyed or we are still enjoying. I always leave it very vague, okay, because I want it to be more inclusive. I don't want to talk about it in a very just as a religious context or Buddhist context. I want people to just explore in your own way, the different experiences that you have in your life. We all have different lives, different kind of experiences, but nonetheless, I want you to explore it, take a look back at past experiences and pick out specific incidents and bring them to mind. Maybe allow ourselves to re-experience a certain part of it, but to put them together in a new kind of relationship with one another, one that allows us to appreciate and to see our life as a whole, even now, as something precious, something valuable in itself, or valuable at least to ourselves, and something unique and unrepeatable. And to be able to come to a point where we appreciate what we have. Appreciate means feel happy, really value it for what it is. Give it a high value instead of a low valuation. So you think that it's something precious, rare, unique, unrepeatable. And then at the end of it, I'm going to ask yourself this question: what am I going to do with this precious, unique, unrepeatable life of my own? What am I going to do with it? And that's the whole point of this appreciating my precious human life, is to stimulate us to look higher, further, to appreciate what we have, and then to say, where do I want to go with this precious human life? What do I aspire for myself, not for others? What do you want to do with it? Otherwise, it will be like a wasted opportunity that you have something so valuable and precious and wonderful and unique, and you didn't do anything about it. You didn't realize you have it. You didn't appreciate it, and you didn't make full use of it. You didn't make full use of it in a way that is meaningful and purposeful for you. And you won't be surprised at the end of it when it comes, especially when it comes suddenly. When the end comes suddenly, you might go with great regrets because you have missed a wonderful opportunity. So this is the whole point of the topic, appreciating our precious human life. The appreciation, also a sense of joy, rejoicing. And I said, I didn't realize that. Viewed from a certain point of view, my life is so wonderful. I'm so fortunate. I have all this, I get to enjoy all this freedom freedom from adverse conditions that are so much more tragic and make things so much more difficult for myself. And that I'm endowed with all these wonderful opportunities and conditions, and put together, it is quite a wonderful life, so to speak. And to see if we can then feel joy for ourselves, that we have such a life, that we have such an opportunity to appreciate it, and to ask ourselves, what would I want to do with this precious human life of mine, which is the aspiration. What do I aspire to? And always leave it very open and vague, so that people have a lot of freedom, a lot of space to explore and think about it in your own way and see how you respond to it. Okay, so let's do meditation on appreciating our precious human life in this context of joyous effort, and to explore at least the two, if not more, of the favorable conditions of finding aspiration and allowing ourselves to feel joy. Right? So I invite you to choose a suitable meditation posture, one that allows you to be able to sit comfortably for the next 20-25 minutes. And in that posture, most important to make sure that the back, the spine is able to assume its natural position. It is at ease, feels comfortable. The posture has not introduced unnecessary pain or discomfort, especially to your spine, to the full length of the spine. Don't feel that you need to artificially or deliberately tense up the back muscles to somehow straighten the back. Maybe on occasion, yes, but in general, we simply just move around, allow the body to find a most suitable and comfortable position to abide in. Rest your hands and arms on some kind of physical support. If you are sitting, you can rest the hands in the lap or on the knees. Sitting is good to, especially sitting on a chair, good to have both feet firmly planted on the ground on some kind of support. You can, of course, also lie down in this meditation, lie down on your back in the supine position. Feel free to close your eyes completely if that's easier for you, or if you're used to meditating with your eyes open, then that is perfectly fine. So take a few moments, allow your body to find its way into this posture while I ring the bell to signal the start of meditation. So first of all, let's see if we can let into our awareness the sensations coming through from beneath us. Sensations coming through from the support at the points of contact between our body and our seat, our body and the ground, the floor. We want to allow our body to feel that in this posture it is resting on a support that is solid, firm, and stable, and that impart all these wonderful qualities related to the earth element to the posture. That the whole body is well supported in this posture, is kept safe. And this will encourage our body to begin the natural process of unwinding, of loosening up. The body realizes that it does not have to be so tight, so tense, and it can, in its own time, let go of some of those unnecessary contractions and tightenings. And then in general, for meditation, I like to start with a few minutes of helping body and mind to transition, to shift gears, to settle into meditation. So let's make use of our natural breath as a support. See if you can allow yourself to be aware of the sensations associated with the breath. Allow yourself to experience the in-breath and the out-breath. Coming back to the breath, returning our attention, reconnect with the breath sensations throughout our body. Don't feel that you necessarily have to focus on a particular spot. Instead, I usually suggest people to just appreciate and be aware of that wave-like movement or sensations that we call breath. We notice breath sensations around the nostrils, at the chest, at the abdomen, and other parts of the body. And as we tune in to the breath, maybe we notice each time when we breathe out, there's a subtle sense of release. We relax the muscles of the diaphragm and the chest, and we allow the air, carbon dioxide, to be released. So coming back, returning our attention, reconnect with the breath sensations. With each out breath, we can take that as an opportunity to release. And we can even say the word release in our own mind, synchronized with the out breath. As a reminder, breathing out, maybe some of the physical tension in the body, some of the different agitation of the mind may be released, may just flow away with the out breath. So coming back to the breath, on the out breath, reminding one's own body and mind that they can release. They can let go of anything unhelpful, unnecessary, anything painful or uncomfortable. As we breathe out, maybe some of those feelings, some of those tension and agitation might just flow away with the breath. And feel that throughout the meditation, you're always welcome to return your attention to the breath sensations, to stabilize your attention. And on the out breath, there's always the opportunity to release. And we can allow the release of tension and agitation of the body and mind to just continue on and on in the background. But we now turn our attention away from the breath and instead onto the contemplation of the topic of appreciating our precious human life. And here I invite you to let into your awareness memories of the past, different experiences of the past, different aspects of the past. And what we want to highlight to ourselves in this meditation is invite ourselves to recollect positive aspects of our life, the kind of freedom we appreciate that we have, we enjoy, freedom from adverse condition, freedom from intense suffering or pain or disadvantages. Or we can also think in terms of what we are endowed with, qualities, opportunities, favorable conditions that we are endowed with as we grow up in our life. We can really appreciate all these wonderful qualities and also wonderful experiences as well. We can recollect not only the qualities and characteristics of the different aspects of our life, we can also recollect specific incidents, specific experiences of being loved, being cared for, being supported, being connected, experiences of accomplishment, success, experiences of courage, of overcoming of difficulties, of resilience, of strength. Coming back to this moment, allow the door of your own heart and mind to open and invite into your awareness different images, memories, ideas, and see if you can select those that affirm how precious, how wonderful, how unique and unrepeatable this life of ours. Coming back here and now to the meditation on appreciating our precious human life. If things are not forthcoming, you find it difficult, or mind is quite distracted, you can frame it in the form of a guiding question. What is so precious about this human life of mine? What is so precious or wonderful about my life? Ask a suitable guiding question and see what comes forth as an answer. What is so precious and wonderful about my life? Coming back to here and now, to the topic of appreciating our precious human life, maybe make use of a guiding question. What is so precious about my life? See if you can be open and just explore different experiences, different ideas that may come forth. See if you can gather together a list, short or long, for all these different moments, all these different qualities and attributes of your life that allow you to truly appreciate how valuable, unique, and unrepeatable it is. Coming back to this moment, to the meditation, asking ourselves the questions or pondering the question of what is precious, valuable, unique, unrepeatable about this life of ours. Allow into our mind memories of the past, maybe not forgotten. Sometimes even something very simple, innocent, we can nonetheless bring it to mind and appreciate for its uniqueness, because no one, not even the person that experience with you, will experience it exactly as you have. Yours is unique. And see if you can develop a sense of joy and appreciation as you review all all these different episodes, all these different qualities and attributes of your life. And as we recollect, bring to mind the different experiences, the different aspects of our precious life, precious human life, see if we also allow ourselves to express or to feel a sense of appreciation, a sense of rejoicing, feeling happy and appreciative of having all these wonderful moments and conditions. And then I'm going to invite you now to look into the future, having looked into the past, having gathered some evidence to support a sense of appreciation of our own unique, precious life. I invite you now to look into the future. What will you want to do with such a precious human life? What do we want to do? What might be our aspirations? How will we want to live our life? And what do we want to accomplish with this precious, unique, unrepeatable life of ours? So coming back to the meditation, in your own way, explore, project into the future, identify for yourself, vaguely or precisely, what sort of direction you want to channel your energy, channel your time, channel your life towards. What might be your aspirations on how to live a meaningful, purposeful life? And then to conclude the meditation, having reflect and consider what might be our aspirations, how we would like to live or make full use of this precious human life of ours. We can dedicate. We imagine gathering up all the positive momentum we have created through studying, learning, meditating, reflecting. We direct that energy, that momentum, towards the fulfillment of our own aspirations, of our own goals. We can think in our own mind that by this positive momentum, may those wishes and aspirations of ours come true. May they be fulfilled. Also dedicate that may any wholesome, virtuous qualities that we have somehow activate or nurtured in today's session and practice, may they somehow stay with us, linger in our body, mind, and heart, and continue to grow and to benefit us. Okay, so there is a short meditation on appreciating our precious human life. For me, I think it creates a good condition to, by looking at the past in a certain way, this particular point of view, hopefully it helped to activate a sense of a different view of ourselves. We can see ourselves in a different light, and we have activated different feelings, one of appreciation, and then we turn our attention to the future. And that might encourage us to come forth with certain aspiration. How would I like to, in the best way, possible way, make use of this opportunity to live this precious human life, engaging in something truly meaningful and purposeful for ourselves. And once we're able to do that, we experience aspiration, the variable conditional aspiration. And in the process of appreciating our precious human life, hopefully we're able to touch a little bit that quality of joy, the uplifting quality of joy. And the last few minutes, maybe we can consider how all these four variable conditions come together and transform or bring forth or activate a joyous effort. Aspiration sort of sets the directions, and pull forth, has this kind of quality of bringing forth, stirs up the energy, that spurs us on to try to actualize that aspiration. And steadfastness is just like almost a regular, constant input of that energy. Keep coming back to it, keep at it, that allow us to continue. And joy, uplift this whole process, prevent it from becoming very heavy, very way down. Sometimes also take ourselves too seriously, to see things from a lighter side, to uplift and to bring a sense of buoyancy into the whole process. Because especially if you take it too seriously and everything becomes very heavy, it also has a tendency for us to overexert ourselves, try too hard, refuse to take rest, and then unfortunately to stirs up a lot of negative feelings, a lot of unpleasant feelings. Yeah. So instead of going down that way, come back and try something different. Aspiration, steadfastness, joy, and also to factor in the need for rest. Physical rest, mental, emotional rest in different forms, short or long. That allow us a sense of space, a space to recover from it, to regroup, to regather all those energy. And based on this, then we can look back very briefly on the unfavorable conditions. When we have joy and aspirations, then it's easy for us to be motivated, easy for us then to overcome the inertia of procrastination. Because it's something that we enjoy, something that we feel good, something very uplifting, and that we have the interest and aspiration to pursue it. And that very much help us to overcome the inertia of procrastination. And also, instead of spending our energy involved in many different activities, not so meaningful, at least to ourselves, then it channel our attention in a very specific way and direct us to bring our energy or invest our energy to accomplish those specific goals or aspirations that we have. Hopefully those are virtuous ones, to take delight in virtue as the definition of joyous actions. And lastly, with this quality of aspirations of joy and taking suitable amount of rest, hopefully they also help us to overcome the sense of discouragement. Discouragement, when we are discouraged, we don't aspire. We also don't feel joyous. When we are able to let in a sense of delight, a sense of excitement and joy, and we have something to look forward to, something to aspire to, then it's very encouraging. And especially as we steadily work at it and we are skillful in the way we set our goals and in the way we recognize our accomplishments, instead of setting some super ridiculous, high standard, perfect goals, we set something much more reasonable and also allow ourselves to feel happy when we are able to accomplish each one of them as we gradually improve and get better and better. Then this goes a long way to help us to feel empowered, to feel encouraged in our spiritual journey, and it makes it so much easier for us to then tap into our resources, tap into our joyous effort. So in this way, we can also think, they also help us to overcome the unfavorable conditions. Okay, so that's, I apologize, that's a lot of talking, a lot of information, but I hope at least I managed to convey a little bit of this whole idea of what it means to practice the parameters of joyous effort, and especially bring your attention to the unfavorable conditions. And we try to not nurture those, just instead to stay away from them, to avoid them, and instead nurture the four favorable conditions of aspiration, steadfastness, joy, and rest. All right. Now it's time for me to rest. So thank you very much for your attention. Have a good week ahead, and I'll see you next week at a new module. All right. Good night.